In Mark 5:19, howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. Jesus wants us to tell others. Anybody that comes to know the Lord has a testimony that God is. That's probably the greatest testimony that God is, over above all the science. The Apostle Paul himself gave his own testimony. He was probably the most educated of all the apostles, and yet he gave his testimony. Not only that, the Holy Spirit recorded his testimony. So he got 3 times. Well, let me tell you mine. I was raised in a home where my mother was a spiritualist. My grandmother was a medium. And I went to the public school system. And it's through the 2 teachings that you get from spiritualism, a twofold evolution, a physical evolution and a spiritual evolution. They said you were getting better and better as time was going on. And the public school system had a physical evolution. It was from these teachings that I became an atheist. And I had went on like that for much of my life early on. I was going to school one time, and one girl was talking about God. And I asked her, I said, well, how do you know there's a God? And she said, well, just look at a tree. And I said, no. I didn't ask you how you knew there was a tree. I said, how do you know there's a God? Well, she couldn't answer that question. And many in the church can't, sad to say. But I went on. Even in college, it was rather interesting. I ran into people of all kinds of different religions. And all the religions had some form of heaven. I remember getting this one classroom. There was 10 in the room. And I found out, I started going around and finding how many different religions. We had 10 different religions in there. 9 out of 10 had some form of heaven. And then there was this Baptist, and he said it was going to hell. Well, I was very cruel to that man. I went on, and at the age of 27, I was out working, and I said something about the Lord I shouldn't have. It's out of total ignorance, but I shouldn't have said it anyway. And the man rebuked me, and I said, well, I'm going to go find out for myself. And I started reading the Bible. I started in the New Testament, in the book of Matthew. And I started reading chapter 1, and before I got through the end of the chapter, I had this tremendous headache. Well, I put the book down, went to work the next day. When I came home that evening, I started in chapter 2. And before I got done with that chapter, I had this tremendous headache. The next day, same thing. I started in chapter 3. And I was starting to get this headache. And I said, well, this is ridiculous. It's only a book. Which is exactly the way I saw it at the time. And I read through the New Testament many times. And all it said was things. Pharisees did this, Sadducees did this, the disciples did this, and on it went. And when I got going through it, I didn't understand it. So I started in the book of Genesis. And as I was reading through the Old Testament, the New Testament started to make sense. Jesus talks about that in the New Testament. He says, if you can't believe Moses, how can you believe my words? He's saying it's not even possible. Well, I experienced that. I went several months, and the Lord had knocked me to the ground. I had got up that morning an atheist believing in evolution, and went to bed that night a Christian believing in creation. If at that time you brought all the scientists in the world to me and said, what do you do with this evidence? The evolutionary scientists. They have a skull in their hand. They go, well, the skull is evidence. And I said, well, I don't know what you do with the evidence. All I know is God created the heavens and the earth. And I went like that for a while. I finally came onto the Missouri Association for Creation. They had every book that the evolutionists wrote and every book that the creationists wrote. Now, if you just read the evolutionist, you'd throw the thing down, because one evolutionist said, well, this is evidence for evolution. Another one would say it wasn't. But the science never worked out. What I was finding out is people are taking their skull or whatever evidence they had and just told a story about it. There was no science behind it. If you have problems with that, I have a video, Evolution, What Science, in which I take scientific facts and compare the two stories between creation and evolution. I try to encourage you, if you're an atheist and you're looking out at the world and you can't see God, get into the Bible. Get yourself a good King James Version Bible. If you can't find it, take what version you can, but as soon as you can get a King James Version, do that. And start reading. And God will start showing you the relationships we have to Him, to creation, and on and on. And before long, you'll be able to see God. I hope this has been an encouragement to you. Thank you. If you find value in this video, put a like on it. The more likes makes it easier for people to find on the web. Share the video with others, and subscribe to hear new videos.